And that's a special honor for me because Ellie's my wife. So many of you here already volume up.
Yeah, what is that?
How's that? Okay. So many of you here have some connection to Ellee, know Ellee a little bit. Things about her that you might not know. Ellee has a broad range of experience in many different fields of endeavor. So we're here tonight because of her writing ability, her authorship, but she's done a number of other things that I think are really interesting. She has guided cycling tours across the country with woman tours. She has had the opportunity to work with young people at Catherine Freer as a wilderness guide, living out in the wilderness for weeks and weeks at a time. So a broad range of things that Ellee brings to the table. But the thing that I think is most important about Ellee is her ability to make things. And I don't mean like making things like arts and crafts. I mean recognizing where there's a hole in the world and making something to fill it. And when I think about that, I think about her experience with the Portland Society, where she saw a hole in the Portland cycling community where there wasn't always the best place for women who had an interest in cycling. And she, along with a few other people, created an organization to meet that need. Likewise with this book, Ellee looked out and said, you know, I love cycle touring. I think it's a lot of fun. I've done it all over the country. I'd like to do that. I want to go buy a book to see how that works. And what she found was the book didn't exist. There was a hole in the world where that book ought to be. And even though, as you'll hear in a few minutes, there are a lot of obstacles to producing this kind of book today, what Ellee did was she was a yes person. Every time there was an obstacle, she stepped up to it, took it on, built a team, and made it happen. So today we get to sit here and enjoy the wonderful thing that she was able to create, Cycling Sojourner. So please join me in welcoming Ellee Thalheimer.
I need to bring him more places with me. He makes me sound so awesome. So first of all, being here and seeing all of you today is just so much more interesting and sexy than being in front of the computer in my pajamas for days on end, hopefully grabbing a bite to eat here and there, which is what the past couple of months have been like. So I want to thank all of you for being here today. It means a lot. I also would like to thank River City and Wendy Williams and Dave for hosting this event of quite a few people. And also Widmer Brewing for our libations. And I'd like to tell you that this book, the creative aspects of this book, were completely made by Portlanders. And I would like to thank those people who were such a talented and fantastic team. Lucy Birmingham, Laura Carey, Jeff Smith, Kristen Willie, Ellie Blue, and Joe Beal. They were fantastic to work with and did a great job. I would also like, I'm just going to do a couple more thank yous and we get on to the presentation. So there's the local wisdom section in each of the chapters, and I had contributors for that who helped with the book and made the book a better book. And those contributors were Steph Roth, Alex Phillips, Lynn Pinner-Ash, Joel Grover, Brian Wilson, Bill Hyman, Dan Little, Barbie Borst, Donnie Kolb, and Troy Nave. Thank you so much. And one last little thank you to Jamie, and who basically was my right-hand woman tonight. Thank you so much. And to Stephanie Edmond, who gathered and prepped all of the food that you're enjoying here tonight. Thank you. Oh, sure. That'd be great. Sure, you can go ahead. And I'm just going to jump into the presentation, and if you have any questions at the end, there will probably be a little bit of time for that. So this is my first bike tour, and my dad and I went from Astoria, Oregon to San Francisco, and you can see the matching jackets. He did that. He did that. We got harassed just a little bit, but this is where I initially fell in love with cycle touring, and if you are in love with cycle touring, you always remember that first trip. Since then, I did some of the things that Joe had mentioned with leading tours and creating routes for touring companies, and I wrote Cycling in Italy for Lonely Planet, and it all kind of brought my experience to the place where I could make this book today. What inspired this book was training for a 200-mile gravel road endurance race with Joe, my husband. I wanted to go on tour, and just around here, and I couldn't find anything. So through one thing or another, I came to understand that I was going to write this book. And thankfully, Cycle Oregon and Travel Oregon were behind me on that and really helped make that happen. And the reason, oh yeah, sorry, you can do it. Sorry, I'm going to back up for a second. So, Joe, this is a picture of Joe and I. This is on one of the tours that I created for our endurance training ride, because this is, okay, sorry. This is along the gorge, and I spent lots of time and energy making this tour and the next one. This is actually in Washington. And I wanted to bring all of that information into the book and make it happen in there. Then I go on to Cycle Oregon and Travel Oregon. Okay, you can do that. So the reason why is because it means dollars. Cycle touring is a real industry in Oregon that creates economic development. $223 million from tourists who are using bicycles. So that is an incredible thing that our state is doing, and going to the Bike Summit in DC, I realized that we're a one-of-a-kind state in that, so it's something to be proud of and something to really go for and pursue further. So, why bike touring? If you have a wake off, why would you load up your bike with tons of weight, get on your bike, and just cycle all day, instead of going to wherever, Hawaii? Well, there's actually a lot to anyway. So, you can go on to the next slide. There are lots of reasons, but I'm going to talk about a few of those reasons. One of them is fitness. You start a tour, and at the end of the tour, your fitness is in a different place. And you're injected with happy endorphins the whole time you're gone. You feel good, you're eating. It's an awesome experience. I do have to add in the caveat that anybody can go on a cycle tour. Anyone who can ride a bike can go cycle touring. You can go as slow as you want, just as long as you have the appropriate gears. Ask River City; they'll point you in the right direction. So really, it's not limited by physical skill. You don't have to be a fancy bike racer. I went on 2 tours with brand new tourists during the research, and they did great. And what do we have next? Adventure. Okay, so when you start a bike tour, lots of times you don't end up in the place where you thought you were going to go. Or maybe you're doing things that you didn't think you were going to be doing, like shooting a gun, like I was doing on the top of a pass in Eagle Cap Wilderness. Pete and I were out, we were going from halfway to Joseph, which is in eastern Oregon, 70 miles, 35 of those miles are climbing with 2 passes. It was snowing that morning. We checked around town to see what we could do, and we ended up getting a ride with Jeff, the coal miner, who popped us into his truck was like really high, it's this high, and threw our bikes in the back, pumped the country music. He gave Pete, to his credit, he took the Keystone, the beer, but he had to move his guns in order to get the beer out. So he asked us if we wanted to shoot some, and Pete was more cautious here and said, and I said, yes, of course I do. That sounds great. I've never shot a gun. So as you can see with my form, I'm probably shooting the ground, but whatever. So it's just kind of demonstrative of the fact that bicycle touring is not going to be your packaged resort experience. Nature. So this is out by Vestines Mountain. When you're bike touring, you're out in nature all day long. And in a time where we're constantly connected to our computers and our gadgets and our phones, it can be a really connective and transformative experience. The good part about bike touring for some is that you can have that experience outside and then you can go to a hotel at night. Some people really like that. Okay. People. Okay, so these are our bikes next to the motorcycle gang that we met. This is in Spray, Oregon, in eastern Oregon. I think some people were on this tour with me. Nice, nice, nice. Yeah. So when you're cycle touring, for some reason people engage with you more. They chat with you, and then they're more open to talking about themselves, and so your trip becomes a rich cultural experience because of the fact that you're on a bike. That's good. Another thing, people-oriented, is you can go with your friends, and some of my most favorite trips ever have been going on cycle touring adventures with my friends. You get to know them really well. I'm not going to deny that. But generally when you walk away, it's a kind of bonding experience that you won't forget, and you'll have great stories. Don't ask these guys for stories. Okay. I'm going to share with you a couple of the highlights from the book. And the book has lots of different information in it, lodging as well as camping, where you can eat, where you can buy your food, history tidbits, the local wisdom sections. A really cool aspect is on the map pages you'll see in your books, they're perforated edges, and cue sheets are on the back, so you can just tear them out and put them in your handlebar bag. I love that. I always wanted that. So, and the wine country tour, on top of that information, has a complete coverage of the wineries along the way, as well as tasting rooms and places where you can eat really good food. It has a more of a focus on that than other places.
Did you do the research?
It was a hard job, but I did it for you. Okay, so this is Mount Bachelor, and that's Joe. This is a part of the Cascade Classic Tour, and this is the Cascade Lakes Highway, which, has anybody ever been? I'm sure lots of people have ridden that. Yeah, it's really beautiful. It's a low-traffic paved road that's dappled with lakes and forests and streams. It's pretty idyllic. And it's part of a bigger tour that has really cool biking towns on it. It's a 5-day tour: Sisters, Oak Ridge, Bend. Yep. And Hell's Canyon. I named this chapter Hell's Canyon, Hell's Yes. It's I love Eastern Oregon, and this is a beautiful tour. The 39 road, where you saw me shooting the ground, is gorgeous, straight through Eagle Cap Wilderness. And what? Oh, another part of this tour is there's not a lot of tourist infrastructure around it, so you can actually have a real adventure out there. Okay, the Oregon coast. It attracts more bicycle tourists than any other part of the state, and it's due to some really smart decisions by the legislature. In the 70s, our beaches are public, so it's really gorgeous scenery. It's not my top 10 because of the traffic, but along the way there are some exceptional roads. And in the book, I point out the best ways to get down the coast. Nice, you're starting to sense. So Crater Lake National Park. Has anybody ridden the Rim? It's awesome. It's if you catch it in September, midweek after Labor Day, when it's sunny, it's some of the best riding you will ever do in your life. It's hard to explain. And it's really the crown gem of this tour. It's the Southern Oregon tour. But really, when we went on it, we realized that all the other days are premium cycling through forest roads and service or logging roads that were forgotten. I would say it's some of the best riding in Oregon. Scenes, okay. The gravel grinders that I've recently come into contact with in my life, including Donnie Kolb. Are you here, Donnie? Hi. So, have introduced me and my husband to gravel grinding, and this tour I was extremely excited to include because it's out in a part of Oregon that lots of people haven't gone to, and it's incredibly scenic and gorgeous and rugged. This route might hand you your butt. It's from the remoteness and the ruggedness perspective, but I hope that my book will point more adventurous folks in that direction because it's an amazing place. And to leave you, the image that I'm going to leave you with is Strawberry Mountain, or the strawberries. This is a day ride in the True West route outside of John Day. Gorgeous one. Dan Little pointed me in that direction. You can see, the book is pretty rich with lots of people's input. So, and thank you. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it. That is the end of the presentation. If you have any questions, I'm open to them right now. I never leave behind anything. How? Let's see. I can't think of anything. Joe, Stephanie, Tori, what did I leave?
You left behind my soap.
I left Stephanie's soap at the pump at a campsite, and it was a really big problem. Yes, in Southern Oregon, it's really hard in the woods to find Dr. Bronner's.
Are these all camping trips?
No, I made sure to include all of the camping options on the routes, but there's also all of the lodging options. Because I think that lots of times when you think of cycle touring, you think of camping,
yeah.
But there's tons of us out there that want to stay in a hotel at the end of the night. So that there's all of that information is available, and there is lodging on most of the tours with some exceptions. But camping, I mentioned all of you can camp most of them too. All right. Yes.
What's your next project?
Oh, thank you for asking. Yes, good, glad.
A plant.
Into Action Publications, which is the publishing house that I started because of this book, is publishing Hop in the Saddle, a guide to Portland's craft beer scene by bike. And that, yes.
You did the research for that one,
Yeah. It's going to be pretty awesome. So yeah, and that will be out in November. And the authors Lucy Birmingham and the designer Laura Carey, who I worked with for this project, are both working on that project. So it's going to be great. Thanks for coming. Enjoy the rest of the food and the beer, and have a great time.
Yay.